Hello everybody! Welcome to Katia Plant Scientist Pumpkin Patch. Today I'm going to tell you how to harvest pumpkins and how to cure them so that they will last all throughout spooky season and well into the winter. Let's have a look at some of these gorgeous pumpkins and winter squash here in my traditional squash garden. How can we tell when they're ready to harvest? The secret lies within the color of the squash, as well as the stems and vines connected to it. A lot of squash have a certain mature color. So most squash start out in shades of yellow, white, or green, and then they turn into the more vivid hues that we associate with their mature and ripe phase. Let's start off strong with the impressive Rouge Vif d'Étampes pumpkin. Look at this monster. Isn't it enormous? Just look at the size of it. So this squash here is showing its fully mature color, which is a bright reddish orange. We can also tell that this squash is ready to harvest because look at the state of the vines. They're all dried out. The plant itself has died off and put all of its energy into making this delicious, fully mature squash. Another foolproof way to tell whether a squash is mature is to take your fingernail and press it into the flesh of the squash. If it leaves no mark, that indicates that the squash is fully mature because its shell is completely hard. When harvesting a pumpkin or winter squash, take your clippers and make sure to cut away any vines that are attached to the stem. So these should be all of these completely dried out old vines. See how they just break off there like they're made out of crepe paper. There's no moisture in them at all. The plant itself has died off and put all of its energy into the big winter squash. The next thing to do is lift it and wash off the opposite side of it that's been kept away from the sun. This is called a field spot, and all naturally grown squash have an area on them that's lighter in color. That's because this area has been facing away from the sun during the summer. So what's important during the curing stage is to take some mild detergent like dish soap and vinegar and wash this off with a dish brush or paper towel and place it in a warm, sunny location. You will then find that the field spot will generally darken and change color to match the rest of the squash. But if there's some dirt on it, don't worry. As long as there's no sort of holes or moldy patches or damage from slugs or animals on here, you'll be fine. Let me show you a squash that isn't yet ready to be harvested for contrast. Over here, we have the ayote squash. This is an heirloom Mesoamerican squash, and it is a member of the butternut squash species. Compared with pumpkins and winter squash, here's a pumpkin over here for comparison. They're some of the fastest maturing, and look, it's just broken off its own vine quite spontaneously. I didn't even have to cut it. And it's always good to leave plenty of stem, like you could carry it like a little handle. But the ayote squash here, its vine is still green. So I would say let's leave it on here for another couple of weeks. Something to remember with squash is that the only time you absolutely have to harvest them is if a hard frost is coming. If squash are left out in frosty weather, they can go mushy and brown and start to decay. So if you know that frost is coming, then it's okay to go ahead and cut one off vines that are still green. But otherwise, October is a really ideal time to start cutting your squash free from their vines here in the UK. Let me show you some other squash I've got going here. This is the famous candy roaster. This is a Native American heirloom variety, and I'm just avoiding the nettles that have grown there. And again, it is ready to harvest because, as you can see, the vines are completely dried out and dead. All the energy has been put into that big, delicious squash. The thing about leaving them to mature on the vine is one of the reasons why squash that are produced, there we go, for Halloween decorations, sometimes don't taste as good as properly grown heirloom squash. They are actually the same breed of squash often. It's just that they are not allowed to naturally mature on the vine in sunshine. They're often picked when they're a little too immature and ripened off the vine to serve as Halloween decorations. So that's sometimes why they're less tasty and more stringy in texture. These, you might say, traditionally bred and raised squash have a succulent and dense texture that's bright orange and full of flavor. So really, if you're going for gourmet squash, growing them in this natural way and letting them go through their whole life cycle is the best you can do. I'm gonna put her down there. Let's meet another one. We've got the Boston squash here, another American heirloom variety that's ready to be cut free from its vines. There you go. Again, we've got a nice field spot that just needs a little cleaning up. And then we've got this amazing Marina di Chioggia, an Italian heirloom variety squash. That again, as you can see, it's all dried out and ready to harvest and get a little cleaned up. There you go. See, oh, it has such a cute sort of Turk's turban squash design on the bottom. This is called the button of a squash. It's very cute, isn't it? It does look like a button you could press. Well, nothing happens if you press it, but it does look really adorable. And that shows that it's a really lovely, mature example of one of these squash. Let me show you where I help my squash reach their full potential by curing them. So come with me and we'll look at the next stage of the process. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my greenhouse. A greenhouse is also a perfect place to let your winter squash and pumpkins cure because it's warm, it's sunny, and it's protected from rain and from pests that might want to take a bite out of your squashes before you get to them. If you don't have a greenhouse, a warm, sunny windowsill of your home is also an ideal place to cure squash. I use a sandbox, which in the springtime is used as a place for seedlings. So what I have here is I have a gold rush zucchini or courgette. Now you might be thinking, what's with that? Aren't these guys summer squash? Well, if you let them fully mature like this and develop a hard skin with a vivid color, they make a pretty decent winter squash as well as summer squash. A squash like this is ideal for cooking into soup. It may not be ideal for a pumpkin pie. It's got a little bit more of a stringy texture and a milder flavor, but it's great for a delicious, satisfying pumpkin soup. And here is another one of my heirloom squashes. This is a blue Hubbard squash from New England. And as you can see, this was formerly its field spot. Remember how I mentioned the field spot on the naturally grown squash? Well, in this case, this one got cleaned up, all the dirt was removed, any bugs clinging to it, and its field spot was turned towards the sunlight. Consequently, the field spot has now changed to be the same color as the rest of the squash, which looks more uniform, especially if you want to use it as autumn home decor. So yes, I recommend keeping your squash in a warm, sunny windowsill for around 2 to 3 weeks before taking them indoors or using them as part of your fall decor. Squash like this are best if they are turned every week, so you have different sides of them facing towards the light. This side has had a lot of sun exposure, so we're going to turn it over and let the other side of it be exposed to the light now. Once your squash is fully cured, it will have the deepest color possible, and of course will be impervious to any marking with your fingernail. Once your squash is cured, most squashes last for anywhere between 3 to 6 months. And that is great, all natural winter food storage, no refrigeration, canning, or drying needed. They double as fall decor and as a delicious source of food for both sweet and savory dishes all autumn and winter long. I hope that this inspires you to grow your own natural winter squash next year to brighten up your fall festivals. Thank you for joining me, and stay curious about plants.